to Start Telecom's series around Genesys Cloud AI. Today, again, joining me is Alexander and Ryan from the Solution Consulting team, and myself, Edgar Quadra. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Genesys Cloud Copilot, how it's being used by the agents, the supervisors, and admins in the moment of their workflow. So what value is it bringing to the contact center? So like I said, it's empowering the agents. It's bringing and highlighting information, key information in that moment. So during a conversation, during an email interaction and chat, it's calling up information based on knowledge-based articles and everything. And Alexander's going to go into that a little bit more. It's one of the key drivers is to reducing the handle time, and it's improving the consistency of the customer service experience for your customers. So with that, Alexander, please take it away.
Sure thing. Thanks, Edgar. So Copilot is one of those AI systems that Genesys offers that is mostly useful for agents specifically. It obviously has it offers its value to managers and supervisors, team leads, coaches, trainers, etc. But most of the benefits go to the agent basically because they're directly kind of interacting with it. And not only that, they can, Copilot actually improves their overall quality scores. So if they're actually utilizing Copilot, if the company has Copilot turned on, if it's turned on for a reasonable number of queues, the agents, as long as they're following the tips that Copilot gives to them, they should be able to drastically improve their quality scores, right? So they would be following procedures more rigorously, if you will, and the possibility for them to miss a specific procedure in place is zero, close to none, right? Which is obviously a huge value add that Copilot gives to the contact center as a whole, correct?
Yep.
So having said that, let me just demonstrate how it works. So, and first of all, let me talk through it, right? So Copilot will first transcribe in real time, and this is different for the ones that know speech-to-text analytics and topics and the transcripts in Genesys. This is slightly different. This is a different transcript. It's not that transcript that you get after the call ends. It's just a real-time transcript that lives only during this interaction. Now, based on that real-time transcript, and knowledge base that's being set up in the org, the Copilot will recognize intents or even just trigger phrases and pop up the most relevant article. It has a couple of modes of offering those articles. It's either just offer the article and highlight the most probable answer from the article, so the most sensible sentence, or just summarize the article and offer that to the agent. Those are the three main modes. Aside of that, agents still have the possibility to manually search for very specific articles in a case that a customer asked a very loaded question. Maybe it was made up of 3 actual questions and they just need to check something quickly. But ultimately, those 3 automated ways of populating articles to agents are working very good. So I'm not a native English speaker, and overall the transcript sometimes makes a couple of mistakes here and there, but it definitely understands and it always populates and offers the correct article. So let me just demonstrate that for the call and then we will take a look what happens after that. Hi there. So I'm really interested in your core philosophy as a company. Can you tell me a bit more about that? And here it is. So we have about the company. And obviously, I don't know if you can see it, but the most probable answer has been highlighted in this specific case. And the agent can just read it out loud. They can, just read through it, get a very quick reminder. and it just respond to the customer. Obviously, these articles are not only text-based. You can also input images, charts, process flows, whatever you need, even very basic calculators, etc. Yeah.
Alexander, did you highlight that in blue? Is that you or the system doing that?
It's the system. It's Copilot doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is the mode that I feel most comfortable working with, honestly, because I still want to see the whole article. And you can do that even if it just summarizes the article. You can still just open the actual article and read through it. But I just prefer, due to photo memory, if you will, as soon as I recognize specific parts and paragraphs from the article, I already know what to respond, right? If I'm working in a contact center. So I find this one the most useful. As I said, you can always the agent can always just open up the article, and from there they can actually open up any images, charts, whatever has been embedded into the actual article. Then they can go back, and if this is an incorrect article, they can just download it and search for the correct one. Or if it's a good one, they can just upvote it. Now, these votes basically help the AI learn and with time get better at these article productions, if you will.
Okay. So the agents, what you're saying, the agent can train the model over time.
Exactly.
Got it.
And we've seen that with a couple of clients that are using Copilot nowadays. They might have very similar articles covering very similar topics, but they're still different, right? And sometimes the AI can't take in or understand the nuance differences between these two articles. So for those cases, simply downloading helps a lot. And after a week of using it, a couple of weeks maybe, it should get better at it and actually offer the correct article. It's still, if you have multiple articles that it recognizes as relevant, it will offer them both. I'm not able to reproduce that today, but I've seen that happen as well. All in all, it listens in real time. So as soon as there is a topic change, it will recognize it and simply offer a new article. So let's show that. All right, and what products do you have, please? And here it is. And the agent can still maintain that whole history of articles that were offered. All in all, once the call ends, I want to show another part of this, so I'm just going to respond as an agent, just for the sake of the summary that will come in the following step. Yeah, we do offer a wide range of products. Do you have any other question, perhaps? Not necessarily. That will be all. Thank you. Bye. Right. Now the call ends. And what we get now is we need to wrap up our call, right? We need to add a disposition code. And now the cool thing about Copilot is that it not only offers that kind of real-time help, as acting like a knowledge guru almost, but rather it also pre-selects the most relevant wrap-up codes. So that you don't have to search through a list or a drop down or just type in the name. You can actually go ahead and just select one of, the one that's the most relevant one. There are a couple of tips and tricks as to how wrap-up codes need to be configured so that it actually recognizes. So it needs to have, the wrap-up codes need to have sensible words instead of codes. We've seen that with codes, it's not going to work because, Copilot can't know what XYZ means, right? All in all, we will just tag this as products, inquire about philosophy and products. And this is the reason, just the call driver, right? And this is all editable. You get the summary and you get the resolution. Now, any of these bits can be changed, and you can even copy any of these bits. So you can copy the whole summary and then paste it in your CRM system. That's the manual way of doing it. if you're doing a CRM integration, and if you want Copilot to run in Salesforce or Zendesk or SAP or whichever software that you might be using, you can do this API integration so that all of these bits and pieces, such as the summary, get automatically transferred to Salesforce, for example, in a specified field, right?
Yeah, and that's just, I know that's out of the box functionality API, right?
Exactly.
That Genesys provides. So that's great to see that Genesys is bringing that into all the AI suites, tool sets.
And ultimately, we can rate the summary and rate the quality of the call. This was available even before Copilot, but the first bit is kind of acting as an additional layer of training on top of everything. All right, so let's close this one.
Is there any configuration to this screen? Like, what parameters? Is there anything you can set to summary parameters or anything like that?
Currently, it is not available, and we are expecting some changes on that front, such as, from what I saw in one demo, is you should be able to actually prompt the summary to look in a certain way or to feel and to capture specific bits of info. So that's upcoming. I don't know what the ETA is. It was supposed to be rolled out in Q1. It got postponed, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And by prompting, I know this from AI kind of work, is you're able to tell the summary to be formatted or to look out for certain things and include that in the summary. Right?
Exactly. Okay. So the typical use case would be if something happens in literally every interaction that you have on that queue, such as the agent greets the customer, that's not going to be part of the summary. But what if on each call, towards the end of the call, for, I don't know, a product return type call, or a refund, the agent needs to read out the SLAs for the refund. And that's mandatory to have it in the summary. Like in the BPO industry, that's fairly common. So in your CRM, you literally need to type in, I've informed, the customer about the SLAs. So if you need that bit of info, you would have the ability to prompt it to always spit it out. Currently, there is kind of hack to the system that we figured out, but more on that later, I guess.
Well, we'll let the viewers kind of contact us for those hacks. I get you. Yeah. Cool. So I could definitely see how then, that and even this new prompt-in feature is really going to help drive that average handle time down.
Definitely. And also, just by potentially eliminating holds, the overall number of holds that a call could have, and even the whole duration, because if you just need to read through the material instead of having to ask somebody and consult with somebody, you're good to go with maybe 10 seconds of hold time. Like, let me just check something really quickly for you. You're done. And just based on that, not even talking about let me rephrase this differently because maybe the customer doesn't understand, or maybe I don't understand the customer's request, etc. We're here relying on an additional pair of eyes in understanding the inquiry and helping us with answering it, right? So
and the other benefit I see there, right, is the ramp up time for an agent from new to being experienced. That with your experience, right, as a WFM expert, like that is probably huge.
Look, as soon as a new hire gets through the hurdles of learning the new UI and what's where, that takes at least a week, right, for any new hire in any contact center. Specifically, if it's your first time in a contact center as working as an agent, right, it will take probably 2 weeks. But after that, as you said, I think that it goes exponentially. So I think that within a maybe 2-week period, you should be able to answer pretty much any inquiry that you could get on that specific type of call. And nowadays, many contact centers do have senior agents and tenured agents working on billing type calls, right? Whereas the new hires simply do some simple inquiries, general inquiries, and that sort of thing, or move in, move outs for utilities, for example. But with this, technically, you could just upskill them within 2 weeks. This needs to be tested and whatnot, right? But technically, you could improve your SLAs much faster for all of the queues, not only a handful of them.
Yeah. Awesome. What else you got, Alex?
Yeah, I just want to show really quickly how this works for web chat. It's literally the same, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. I just want to show how a web chat would look like.
Yeah, so this is what I'm seeing here right now is just the Genesys Cloud chat widget in your prompt, and you're sending the chat message. Okay, yeah, so this is just a direct agent conversation back and forth.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here it is, about company, or company as a private healthcare, etc., etc. Now, a cool addition to Copilot for chat is that you can use these articles as canned responses and just drag them over to your response body and just send that directly to the client.
Yep.
That's a brilliant feature. And also, just to expand just slightly, on this, not only you can pop up articles by leveraging Copilot, you can also populate or pop up canned responses as well as articles. So technically, you get the possibility to almost replace the typical canned response that you have in a company that are used in a more manual fashion completely with AI. What are the pros and the cons? I don't see any cons. There is some maintenance that needs to happen here every now and then whenever you have a new process or procedure in place. You might want to rephrase something to shorten the article, but you'll see most of the work and most of the maintenance actually happens on the article side of things. As for Copilot, it works basically.
Yep.
Now, let me just kind of briefly touch on reporting. It's currently in a very early stage, I would say. So it does still feel somewhat rough around the edges. And this is an improved version that we got relatively recently. There used to be a different type of view, which was called Agent Assist View or Assistance Performance, something like that. It got renamed to Agent Copilot Performance, and it does offer the possibility to compare all of the queues that have Copilot with any queue that you select, which is really awesome. So if you want to do A/B testing between two queues that represent literally, the same call drivers, or if you want to branch out one actual queue into two smaller queues just in order to do A/B testing and to see what your efficiency gains are, you can actually do that by leveraging this dashboard. All in all, you got to see how many interactions you had with Copilot for all of those queues. How many were web chat and how many were voice calls. Then you can see the average handle time and compare it to the average handle time of any queue that you select here, which is the comparison queue. You can do the same for after call work. You can see, kind of the breakdown of the recommendations, whether we're talking canned responses, scripts. So agent script pages can also be populated. I forgot to mention that. We have knowledge highlights, how many of those knowledge highlights happened, and how many knowledge articles were offered in total. And as you can see, we're very keen on leveraging canned responses for Copilot as our telecom. We had 22 manual searches, and now we have even more detailed breakdown of how many total knowledge articles, highlights, scripts, and canned responses, how many at the average per interaction, opened, copied, and what the feedback was. So this is in a nutshell what it offers on the reporting side. So it's canned report or canned dashboard in a sense. So it does offer limited functionality in terms of investigating, right? But the real meat of it, if you will, comes when you actually go into any knowledge article that you have. You will be able to see how your agents are actually upvoting or downvoting those articles.
Right. It was that feedback what did I say? The training the model.
Exactly. Okay. So in a nutshell, it's those votes still help the AI learn better. Yep. But once again, maybe it's not the AI's fault. Maybe the format of the article is terrible. Maybe it's too long. Maybe the meat of the response is at the bottom, and your Copilot is not set up to highlight the most probable response, but rather just pop up the article. So you need to scroll down until you find it. So, this
And that's a
feedback
good
could.
point there. Sorry, Alexander. And that's where Star Telecom really helps, right? Is we provide you best practices on building these articles, and with our experience, we're able to help you format these articles, what they look like, and like you just mentioned, is to get the best performance out of the AI agent.
Exactly.
Copilot.
And also one last thing to mention before I go back to you. So you can also have different article variations for different kind of AI customer engagements, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Copilot, you will always have one variation that's applicable, but then again, you could have a slightly different format that would be presented to customer if they're kind of talking with a virtual agent, right? So through the
Mm-hmm.
FAQ or whatnot. So the agent version, or the one that actually gets offered to the agent, might be more complex and contains some internal processes and procedures or things to keep in mind, whereas the customer doesn't really need to know those, right? So you have complete control over that too, and it's not necessarily kind of part of Copilot per se, but it's a word you mentioned because we will still need to talk about virtual agents as well.
All right. Awesome.
Up there, I can see that we can import and export these knowledge articles. How are we, what formats are we able to import into the system?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to the importing formats. So you can go with JSON, you can go with CSV, which is probably going to be the one that's mostly used, and you can go with a typical Excel file. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. For example, if you're importing articles through here, importing articles with specific formatting that you want displayed in those articles will need to be embedded into these files, into the actual cell. If we're talking about an Excel file, or if it's in JSON, it would need to be an attribute and whatnot. So these things make it a bit more difficult to import and format everything en masse. But if you just go with the text, you can actually do the formatting in the actual article. So if we go to billing issues,
yep,
as an example, you can underline, you can add links, you can change the font size, bold it,
right,
italic it, etc., etc. So,
and this is for the agent. This is for the agent,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
The AI doesn't care if it's blue or underlined or anything.
Exactly. So ultimately, the thing that needs to be pointed out has to be in red and bold, right? So that it grabs the agent's attention, regardless of what the AI might highlight, perhaps as the most probable response. Maybe there's just something to keep in mind for the agent while providing that response, right? It does offer a lot of flexibility on the import side.
Another follow-up to that, can you automate this import? Is there an API available?
There effectively is. So you can actually connect to Genesys Cloud knowledge base with an external source and just have it update in real time, which is probably the best approach. Because what I'm seeing happening with, for example, charts or images, JPEG files that are posted on a shared drive on a company internal shared drive. If you try to copy that link into Genesys Cloud doesn't necessarily have that authority to open that file and display it. You'll be able to see the picture while that picture is in your cache memory. So the integration is really, if you want to automate this fully, that's the way to go.
Yep. And just to add to that is, I know Genesys has worked closely now with Salesforce and ServiceNow, so that clients can pull their knowledge directly from those platforms into Genesys in a much more tighter fashion. So again, reach out to us and we can definitely talk more about how the integration can work.
And over to you, Edward. That's what we offer today.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Alexander, for that very detailed and concise overview of Genesys Cloud Copilot. Ryan, also great conversation, and I hope everyone learned something about Copilot, what it is and what it isn't, how it could potentially work in your daily contact center life for the agent, for the supervisor, and what type of insights you can glean from this activity. These features are constantly evolving, with Genesys on a weekly basis. There's potentially always a new feature that Genesys is releasing. Don't forget to actually subscribe to our Release Notes YouTube channel to get updates from us about those features as well. So in summary, again, the value that this feature is bringing to your contact center, into your agents, into all the users is those insights, is those detailed insights from summary to pre-selecting wrap-up code to highlighting certain sections in the article to bring it to the agent's attention. Those automations were empowering your contact center users, reducing the time for training, for call handling, and so that is just reducing the time and bringing the efficiencies there, and the consistency. Like you've mentioned a few times there, Alexander, is concise knowledge articles that are being brought up, copy and pasting what's being brought in there for digital and for voice. Incredible features. So again, that ends this video. Please reach out to your account manager, to our solution consultant team, post a comment on the video, and we will get back to you and answer any of your questions. So Ryan, Alexander, thanks for your time on this video, and please like and subscribe to this video. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.